do this. Also, I'm going to post info in the Boarderland Facebook group that we're doing this.
Mm.
Hi, everyone. How are you doing today? No? How are you doing?
Good.
Great.
So let's see, what are we going to go through today? So first we have some attendance that's run. We're going to talk about the membership transfer process and after that turnout, to talk a little bit about operational plan and big picture, survival guide, general communication stuff, the container about Bostall, communication. And we're going to have Michael join us at 7:30 in about an hour and a half, an hour and 20 minutes. So that's probably going to be the last point of the meeting. Hopefully, we'll try to get done with everything before he gets here. So that's the last point. So starting out, what are your reflections on the membership transfer process and what's been going on up till now? Should I start?
Yes.
So I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. It seems like as soon as the deadline came up, suddenly there are spots coming out of the woodwork. You know, everyone's like, oh, I can't go, I have an extra. So a lot of people have gotten a chance to go in the last couple of days. It's been very kind of an intense exchange process. But to me, that is an argument for having the deadline this early, because otherwise we would have had that chaos would have happened just a week before, and people wouldn't have time to plan and all of that. And now it happened well in advance, and there was a lot of exchange going on, so I think that's a really good sign. I also think it's a good thing that we extended the deadline, because obviously people need deadlines to get shit started, but then they don't make the deadlines because we are that kind of people that are not always good at making deadlines. So I think for next year, I think we should have that as a part of the plan already, that we're going to have a set date, and then we're going to extend, last minute we're going to extend to 2 days, just like we did today. So I'm personally really happy with how it turned out. It doesn't seem that there have been much problems with the process in general. So what are your thoughts?
Yes, I would agree. I think it was good to extend it. I think that we still might miss some people because of there will always be people who get sick or like have problems last minute. So we will always be minus 5, 10 or whatever people. But however, I think it was good to have this early deadline as well. And then, in case, they can always email us if it's like a crisis or something, and we can see. Because I think that the aim should always be to make sure that as many people as possible can attend.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was good to both have to extend the deadline and also have a quite early deadline, because of getting people to transfer their tickets that they probably won't use, and to make it possible for people to prepare their project in Boarderland, sorry.
I'm totally up for that. As many as possible should have the possibility to join, and having like that now for the next, like until Borderland happens, it's not possible to exchange.
I can't hear you at all now. You're
Me neither.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
Will happen in the last minute. Better?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
A little. Well, I don't think it's up to us to look at the psychology of when people want to change, when they realize that they cannot go and they want to exchange the ticket or not. I think it's up to us to give them the possibility at all times or as long time as possible to do the changes. And I think we failed with this early deadline. Yeah.
Yeah, Kristen, we have a hard time hearing you.
Yeah.
Maybe if you
We're
turn
missing out.
if you turn off your video, since your connection seems to be bad, then you can do only voice, and then we'll hear you at least.
Yeah, I'll try that.
That's a lot better.
That's better. I would have liked to have avoided that 10 people cannot go because of the early deadline. That some people need a push, I don't know. That's that for me. That's interfering with their psychology for me. I'm sure that all tickets, if we had a very late deadline, I'm sure that all tickets would have been transferred anyway. Then people would have more or less prepared, I don't know, but they would have had the possibility to go. And now people are stuck. More than that, there'll be some people stuck with a ticket that they cannot get rid of ahead for people themselves to be better organized, and therefore, so I just don't get the psychology behind it and the reason, but this is what we did, and that's totally cool. Let's move on, and we can talk about it next year.
Yeah, I agree. We should revisit the discussion for next year. I find it interesting that both Christian and Isadora said we want as many people to come as possible, which I disagree. We obviously don't, since we have limited it to 500 people. So we don't want as many people as possible to come, but we would want to match up with that number. So if we know that 10 people are not going to show up because of them getting sick, then we should have planned it to 510 instead. So that we could have done that too if we're trying to hit that number 500, if that's a point in itself to hit the exact number, which it's an artificial number anyway, so I don't find it that important.
It's not a point to hit like.
Go ahead, Christian. Okay.
No, yeah, you go.
No, but for me, it's like we had to cap the number at 500, but that's not really what I like. I mean, because there's a lot of people who won't be able to attend, so we just had to put it at something. So for me, I would like as many people as possible to attend, but then we had to decide on a number, and that's why it's 500. And then, yes, sure, but for me, we could have put it to 510 then or something, or just we don't want to lose people because of lose possibilities for people to attend, even though we would have been able to have them have that number attending and handled the growth in a stable way. But let's see. If it's like 20 fallouts, I think we have done a failure. If it's 10, I think it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Unfortunately, we don't have the logs from last year because the check-in system kind of failed a bit during the event, so we lost like 100 check-ins. So we don't really know how many percentage we lost last year. I know there was some people who got sick last minute and didn't come. I think that was about 10 people out of 300 last year. Okay, so just to keep going, operational plan. There's been a conversation of what kind of responsibility that we do give to the clown police. Part of that is, does the clown police have? For example, I mean, it would be completely unsustainable at Burning Man if the rangers there did not have authority to throw people out of the event. But are we ready to give that authority to the clown police? And I would say no. I would say, personally, I think we have clown police have no authority at all, but they are our first and foremost mediators, and they should they deserve respect for the work they do, and everyone should very much listen to what they say. But if we would come to the point where we're throwing someone out, I think this group here needs to get together, and it needs to be a larger decision than putting it in the clown police.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, they don't have authority. They have because they can't have authority unless they have a way of punishing, right? Unless they can do an action, then their authority is pointless. So what they have is respect, and their assignment is to be communicators and conflict resolvers. So what do you guys think?
Can I say something? Without means of punishing. Oh, sorry. Just a second. I think it's totally fine that they have some kind of, you can call it jurisdiction or something, without being able to punish anybody. Like if somebody is lighting up making food inside his own tent, surrounded by a lot of other tents, I think the clown police should be able to say, that is not cool, you have to put that out right now.
But anyone can say that. That's the radical self-expression. I mean.
Anybody can say that, but I want the clown police to know that they're entitled to say that and to have an opinion on that, and to.
But anyone has entitled to have an opinion on that. Everyone is, and everyone.
Yes. Yeah, but that's That's bullshit. It's true, but it's also bullshit, because the clown police takes on a role, and they need to have some kind of a dialogue with us about how we think it's okay for them to act. And I don't want the clown police to go around and be policing, but I would like them to be able to, in a certain situation, to like take upon themselves the role of saying this is not cool or this is cool. And yes, everybody can do that, so they can do it. I just want to tell them that they, or give them that thing. And I really feel that Peter and Andreas is stepping up very much in this issue, and are taking responsibility for the things. And I think it's going to be great. I put in some in the agenda. I put in different questions, 4 questions. Maybe there can be more questions, but it could be. Maybe we can take the questions one by one, for instance. That's it. Over and out.
Okay, I think that first of all, we should aim at not having to throw out anyone. So I don't want to give anyone that natural authority to start with, but it should be a huge exception if that happens, and if that it would come to a point where something like such a hard measure would be needed, then I think that it should not be up to the clown police to do it. And I don't think it's the kind of authority or the kind of threat of that authority that they should have. I think they're primarily advisory, and they're there for safety and information. And there's no other And also, like, I think maybe we need to discuss how a potential decision about throwing someone out is made, whether it needs a board decision about it or whether someone can take executive decisions about it, because I think it's a huge thing, and I think we should be very careful before giving that authority to someone.
Yeah. Can you hear me, by the way? Yeah. Midburn, 7,000 people in Israel, in that cultural context where there's usually a lot of problems and aggression and stuff at trans festivals and so on. They had to throw out 2 persons, I think. 1 or 2. And this was a psychotic person on who'd taken too much LSD and had a precondition, and who became, very sort of confused and violent. And so that's it. 7,000 people. So I mean, if that tells us something, I don't think we will, run into this problem. Hopefully, sooner or later, but hopefully not this year. The odds are with us. I don't think we should give the clown police that authority. I think eventually, this will happen, and we will have to find ways of making those decisions and so on. But I think this is way too early, and I think we should sort of wait until that need is there. We shouldn't implement such systems before there's an actual need for it. I don't know.
I think we are all agreed on this point that it's an extreme measure and it would require a lot and hopefully won't happen. I think we need to kind of where Christian was trying to go, saying still we should let the clown police know that they have some kind of say, or as he wrote it in the description, taking decision on the spot about camping, fire, etc. I personally don't agree with that. I think that the clown police should be aware of the fact that they, just like everyone else, have the right to have a strong opinion on how safety is done. They don't have more right or more authority than anyone else, but their job, why they're there, is to kind of exercise that right. Everyone has the right to have an opinion on is this safe or is this safe, but their kind of project, what they're on duty doing, is exercising that right that everyone else has. I don't think we have to give them more authority than that.
Yeah, I think that sounds very good. Like they're the ones who lead by example, and they have a lot of experience, and that's why they're doing it.
Yeah. And obviously they are well informed, and by being well informed, that kind of gives you a little bit of authority too, because you'll be able to say, well, these are the laws in Denmark, and these are I have the information, I know this, but it doesn't give, you can never say do this now because I tell you so, because you simply don't have that authority.
And I also think having that authority leads to a high probability of someone actually sort of playing out that card, or like being frustrated and then being pushed a bit, and then there's like, okay, but you just have to listen. That there's this sort of referral to authority that comes up, and that just can add a lot of more sort of aggression into the situation. I think it's can be easier sometimes to solve a solution if you don't have that card on your hand.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I myself just used that card in the email list the other week, which I apologize for doing. I'm so sorry for that. But that shows kind of how easy it is to become a megalomaniac if you are given a sense of authority. So I'm so sorry for that, and please.
What did you do?
I said I said that I wouldn't permit, as a chairman, I wouldn't permit a vote on the change of the budget until it was presented properly in the board meeting. But yeah, it was just a parenthesis. Me and Hampus have talked a bit about this, but.
So I've in the agenda, I've as we've been speaking, I've been putting in an idea for for this issue. Maybe you can look at it and see what you feel about how that is written.
Can you read it out? Like what?
No.
You cannot see the agenda?
Okay, making maps, communicating fire safety, camping rules, guidelines, newsletters, wiki, face-to-face with boardlings, having strong opinion on the spot about where to camping, how and where to use fire. Yeah. Good.
I wouldn't formulate that having a strong opinion. I would write it as they can have an opinion like everyone else.
Provide guidance.
I think it's very important that our clown police know that their costume does not give them any type of authority. They have, people will most likely listen to them, but it doesn't give them any authority. And I think it needs to be clearly communicated to the clown police that they do not have authority. They have the right to have an opinion, just like everyone else at the Boarderland can have opinions and say what they want, but they don't have authority.
We can say that we expect them to have an opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, what I wrote was internal communication with the clown police. I just used your own words. Gustav, strong opinion was your own words, and I put in also no authority in the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that looks better now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to phrase it.
Yep.
Okay, so regarding maps, this kind of comes back to when we talk Boasdal later, but I think it's great that there are better maps being made. I mean, Lovisa's is a nice outline for map, but I understand there are some needs for fire and kind of rules. So should we, I say let's bring that up later when we also address the camping issues and the fire lanes stuff. So on point 4, there's the survival guide. Isadora, have you...
Can I say a thing?
Yeah.
I also sent you a mail with a text that Peter wrote about these, a preliminary script on an email just 10 minutes ago with Peter's suggestion to a preliminary text about these issues. And I guess you, Isadora, you're doing the survival guide, so I guess this is part of the survival guide in some way. Maybe you can take a look at what he writes, and communicate with him about if that's usable or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I asked him to do that because I thought it would be good for the clown police to actually participate in the process of writing down the rules and guidelines that they have to know. Right? And that's also why I invited Peter to join the meeting with the fire chief, and I've invited him and Andreas for different discussions on the topic also, so that they have been through the process in their heads many times, and they've been writing it, and so that they can pass on the information more deeply to the other clowns. But Isidore, it's a good idea that you and Peter.
I put it in. Yes. Yeah. I will communicate with Peter.
Keep talking about this.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it looks great, and I'm really glad that you pulled him in. Actually, I'm really happy about Peter. He's been He's the #1 editor of the wiki, so he's been putting a lot of this info and stuff on the wiki too, which is good. So yeah, but survival guide. So where are we there? What's the process going from here to having a finished document?
Well, it went out in the Kazoo newsletter, and then what else? There's been discussions about what? It fell out of my mind now. But basically, no, it's still in process. So there's no ready product yet. And I also think that I've just lately started to get people involved in also helping out to do that, besides just myself. So, but can we extend the deadline, or how do you see the process?
Well, the deadline was 2 days ago, so obviously we're extending it. So when can we expect this to be done? So Isadora, is it helpful for you to have a deadline? Because if it doesn't give any if it doesn't give anything to the process, having a deadline point in its own.
Yeah, no, the thing is, I mean, at some point it will have to be printed, but I sort of think that we can keep it updated until keep adding to it, because there might be things that comes up along the way now.
Sure,
so
is it going to be printed?
Yeah, at least, I mean, it doesn't need to be in a, I'm not going to like spend money on printing it in a professional way, but just 1 or 2 or like a few physical X's that you can actually read while you're at the spot. If you sit in the center of information and misinformation, for instance.
Well, why? Okay, so why have we decided against printing it? And it's not a huge cost, I think.
We haven't budgeted for it.
More like on printing it. We haven't decided that we will print it. We haven't put any money aside, so, and we haven't done it every other year. So
I would advise against, because you want, I think you want people to try to be as active online before as possible, and then you want people to actually read it there and get their information. If you read it, a physical copy of it once you're there, it's kind of pointless.
Yeah, but we all know it's not pointless, but we also know how people work. Some people won't read it online or whatever. And I don't know, because I'm just a bit, because I think I just had from memory, but I might be remembering wrong, but I thought we had decided that we actually would print it this year, that this would be a new thing. Like this year we're going to print it, like with a map and blah, blah, blah.
You might be right.
There will be printed maps, but there will be two big maps, one up in the port and one in the center of misinformation and information.
Okay.
I think we should go all in.
Can't hear you now.
All in on communicating survival guides and like newsletter, print, and everything, because that is still our most. Can you hear me? Did you hear that? No.
We should go all in.
I think we should go all in on communication, both wiki, newsletter, Facebook updates, and printing when it comes to the survival guide, because there in the survival guide are some very like the most potential threats for us, like the MOOP thing. And like fire stuff, somebody burning down 100 tents and stuff like that. I think we should go all in also because last year we had problems with MOOP and stuff like that. So I think we have to step up communication. So for me, it would be all of the all the possibilities to communicate that we have.
Yeah, I agree. I also think we should print it, assuming it's not a big cost. For the same reasons, like I think we can do both. Also, it's good to have the experience to see how are they actually used. Like I don't know. I think it would be good. I brought home all of the information that we received at Midburn.
But that is mostly just because of nostalgic. Yeah, it's you do that for Burning Man as well, and then you never read them. It's like
I know why I brought it back. It was not for nostalgia. I brought it back so that we could maybe use it somehow in our own survival guide. I did not bring back the folder for nostalgia. Yeah.
Because I think it's a waste of trees to print 500 X's of the survival guide and hand it out. But I think it's good to have a number of copies available if people do want to read it or need to read it. But I also think it could work as you just borrow a couple of, the port can just say, well, if you haven't read it, when people come, if you haven't read it, you can just go down to the center of misinformation or information and read it if you want to.
I just want to say that I second what Isadora said. I think it's enough to print just a few to have it in the port and ask them to make sure that everybody have read it. And then I think we are done with the printing. So print 20 copies and then we are fine.
If we want to save the trees, we should have like 500 copies of half, or like of a like that 2 wooden boards in a toilet.
Sure, but it's also creating moop, and like I just don't see the need of printing 500 copies unless we want to make a thing out of it or make it really beautiful or something. It's just people are not gonna read it. Like let's make sure that we have information available in a physical way, but print 500 copies for me is completely unnecessary.
I don't care. My experience from Midburn was that most people actually read it.
I would say
when you were sitting in the camp, you were always seeing someone sitting in a chair, and they were like maybe a bit tired, and like, oh, there's the guide. I'll read through it. Like it happens. It's not the same thing if you have to walk 500 meters to read it. And the tree thing. Yeah, I mean we're not printing like a the telephone. It's a lot of noise in the background from someone. Yeah,
me.
I think it's what you gain on the swing, you lose on the roundabout thing. Like one tree might be used to print those things, but then maybe you save 3 trees by 10 people not doing something because they read it in the survival guide. It's like you can't really claim that that for sure that we're saving trees. That's hard. It's impossible for us to know.
Okay, but I personally don't want to take responsibility for it. Like, do you know how much like that is in terms of like boxes? I don't want to do it. If someone else wants to do it, you can do it. I don't want to do it.
Give it to the clown police.
I think it's a matter of creating extra work that is not needed. But if you absolutely want it, then do it. But like, you at least don't print it for the people who have for sure read through it.
No, I'm not saying we should print 500, but maybe like 200 and make it optional for people to take it or something.
Aren't we going to have? We're going to be online there. Can't we just have a computer?
Yeah, an app would be even better. Everyone has a smartphone. I would love an app, and I skipped the whole thing. But I think there should be, something that is where the threshold is very low.
Yeah, the clown police already amongst themselves agreed on printing maps and their little part of the survival guide. So I'm sure they would be up for printing 200 copies of it all and giving it like. Having it with them if somebody needed and
you won't need 200 copies. It's just pretty quick.
Yeah. So if someone wants to print that, I think it's excellent, and I think it's I'm not going to do it myself. I wouldn't argue for it, but I think it's pointless to say, well, don't print. If someone wants to print them and give out, that's great. But
Lisa,
Sorry, I'm
maybe
just gonna
you
step
can talk
out
to the
of-
clown, please.
just either way, we have to make them printable, because that's kind of the first issue and the most of the work. Right now, it's on the wiki, and it's designed for being browsed on a computer. And before, we've had a process of going from, before we had a Word document, to something that's nicely printable. And that process, I think we should at least do. Like, make it printable, so that if anyone wants to print it, they can do so. And we need someone to take care of that first and foremost.
Sorry, I'll need to step out of the meeting for a while, but I'll get back.
Yeah, I like the idea of creating something very sort of concentrated and very printable in a sort of smart way, and then you sort of asking people, maybe people can bring along a copy, sort of self-reliant on this on the survival guide kind of thing. I like that idea. But then it should be like an A4, maybe double printed version or something.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next. I don't feel there's a point of talking more about the survival guide, especially since Isidore isn't here. Should we have a meeting on the internal communication of the board? I personally, what do you guys feel?
Yeah, I think it would be really good to have a meeting. I just don't know when it could work, because I think it won't be meaningful if we're like 3 people there. I think we need to be a proper meeting, and it should probably be something like at least a full day or something like it. It's more of a make it a social thing as well, not just like let's meet for 2 hours and talk. Because I think it needs to be.
Do we have any urgent issues that we need to talk about when it comes to internal communication, or is it more about principles?
No, I think we can do it also after Boarderland. It doesn't have to happen now. We don't have I don't think we have a problem right now. I think we have a problem in a sort of longer, like in a bigger frame, whatever. Like we need to find ways of solving differences, because I think it works great when we're all agreeing with each other, which we usually do. But when we don't, there's this sort of like things just fall between the cracks, and there's this So I think we should have a meeting, but it doesn't have to be before Boarderland. I think we've sort of solved that whole thing.
Gustav took initiative for me and him to have a little chat today before the meeting at 5, and that was great. That helped a lot, I think, on that part of the issue.
Yeah, I personally, to me, my best mode of communication is one-to-one communication. So really, when I feel I have a difference with someone, that's where how I try to solve it. And so to me, that was a great talk. Thank you, Christian. It really meant a lot to have that chat. But I do agree that for next year we should have a board retreat this fall, where the whole board meets up together and spends a day talking about all these issues and kind of bashing out what we want to do. But that is for another time to be talked about, maybe. So to continue going, I added the container here. The port have asked to use the container, and I've told them that they can do that.
Are we done with that, Gustav?
Sorry?
Are we done? Are we done with the internal communication?
Did you have anything more to add? Sorry, I apologize.
No, I don't have any more to add, but I mean, that have been an issue, and we have looked for dates. So it's just important to make sure that everybody are on the same page.
Yeah, maybe we can go back to that. We can at the end of the meeting, or at least when Isadora gets back, so she can say something about it.
Yeah, and Christian, I haven't heard Christian's opinion either.
My opinion is that I think a meeting could be good for us. Although I think we missed the opportunity to meet in person before Boarderland, because when we come to July, it's not going to happen. So we had this window like next weekend, and that's not going to happen. So yeah, meeting in person is not going to happen. Having an extra meeting on like this one about that could be beneficial, but I'm also cool if we don't do it. I don't know if everybody agrees, and not only us, but also the other people on the board lists, like Zach or who else is in there. Like, just agree to put up the big love and the big smile when we communicate to each other on mail, and when we communicate on Facebook, like that we put on the grown-up, smiling, loving person inside of us. I'm cool with just continuing, and yeah, and without an extra meeting, as things are.
I think that's a good takeaway. I mean, we communicate with a big smile and with love, and then we can postpone the meeting until after Boarderland. I think I'm fine with that.
What just happened? Good. Yeah. Great, thank you. Well, let's do that. And also, at the Borderland, it has been suggested before that we should have regular meetings at the Borderland. I think that's a pretty good idea to have at a certain time every morning. There's a staff meeting to which anyone can go to and no one has to go to. But there is just this, like, every morning, hi, I'm interested in checking out what is going on with important things, whether it be neighbors or sound or fire or police or whatever. And then we just have a place and time every morning that we meet up. And anyone wants to show up, they can do, and anyone don't want to show up, they don't have to.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, like a community open session. But I think it should be at noon, at like 12 every day.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And
Definitely noon.
I personally don't want to be the one initiating it and holding space. I would probably attend all of them, but if anyone else wanted to kind of hold that space, it would be nice.
Again, why don't we ask the...
Can't hear you at all now.
We could ask the clown police to hold that space.
Yeah, or anyone. I mean, like, just put up a gong in the space or something, and then whoever hits the gong at noon, that's the start of the meeting or something. I mean, it doesn't have to be very complicated. I think it's just sort of like whoever's interested or curious or whatever, to find out sort of the main thing, get an outline of what happens that day, so what are the problems, or what do we need to solve. If someone just wants to, like, get involved and do something, that's the place to go to find, like, a task or a quest or whatever. I think that's more of a, just have like a gong and whoever hits it, then the meeting is started. Don't make it too formal and, like, yeah.
Well, a time would be nice, because, like, if you really have something to say to somebody, you want to know when to go and say it. And if you're out bathing, you're not hearing the gong gong. So for me, like a fixed time would be.
No, but the gong,
like
yeah, but
minimum.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, I said noon, 12, so the time would
Oh,
be
yeah,
12
yeah.
every day.
Great.
But then at the meeting, like at 12:05, when there's 2 people there, or 5 people, or 10 people, or 15 people, someone just hits the gong gong, and now, yeah, that's the start of the meeting. I mean, it's just
So really what I was talking about was that this conversation would be great for whoever wants to organize this and bring a gong gong. So if you want to bring a gong gong, if you want to host that this is the process, just do that. I'm not really interested in how the process goes or who's holding space. I'm just, we need to have someone to take
we
the
know.
meeting so that it happens, and that's
Yes.
what I was asking for.
And you don't want to do the initiative. I know that. We know that.
So who wants to do it? Instead of having opinions of how to do it, who wants to do it? That's my question.
Yeah, I would have loved to do it, but I don't think I can guarantee that I will be there 12 every day because I have so much other things to do, and I know how it works. I will be sort of running around and fixing things on the go, so I can't be there 12 sharp every day.
What are you talking about?
Again, okay, Isidora, just to Gustav is proposing that we every day have a meeting where people can talk about whatever is important that day about neighbor issues or something. And Hampus suggested 12 o'clock noon, which some of us have said is a great idea, and we're talking about how to do it. And now I'm proposing that we ask the clown police, the gong or whatever at noon, and just be there, because there will always be a clown police person on duty at 12 o'clock, and that person just have to bang the gong and say, anybody want to say anything, and that's it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Let's invite the clown police for it too. But the point, it's not a. I'm not asking for a Boarderland General Assembly meeting. I don't want people announcing who's massaging who or who's playing on what stage. I want this to be primarily. It's supposed to be like a 10-minute check-in where
Yes.
I get to know what I really need to know if shit has happened. I don't want to sit through a long meeting, then I'm not going to be there. So it needs to be kind of, let's not put any more process into it. Let's just say it's noon every day in the center of misinformation and information, and that's when we meet up.
Yeah, because we're having every day, again, we're having rabbit hole morning philosophy. So that's from 11 every morning again. So around 12, I will be in the rabbit hole. But I can move, I don't know exactly where the rabbit hole will be located, but I can move potentially to but the other option would be if you just come to the rabbit hole.
Yeah, but then we run the risk of interrupting the philosophy session if it goes over time. I mean, sometimes maybe you sit there for 2 hours instead of 1 hour, I guess.
And I rather go to a place where there are not an assembly of people already.
Yeah.
So I think the center of information, or inside the front of the pyramid or whatever, where we can be indoors or whatever. But just,
Okay.
we'll figure that out as it gets closer. We don't have to decide this at this meeting, but we'll have one. We'll have it kind of noon every day, and just to check in with each other. I think.
Yeah, sounds good.
Good.
Next. Next is the container. So the port is using it for their. I don't know where it is, what it is, but they've asked to use it. So they're actually renting a truck that's going to come and move it from where it's at up to the entrance, so that they can use that as a structure to build something from, just like we used it last year, kind of. Now, however, it needs to be after the Boarderland. It needs to be packed up and picked up and moved out of there. And that needs to be booked and organized before the Boarderland. So we need a container responsible person.
And will we bring the container back to Hide?
Oh, no.
No, that would be strange.
I
No?
have
So we're
I have asked for farmers nearby who potentially both can move it and store it, maybe for free or maybe for a little fee. He hasn't come back to me on that, but I'll remind him.
Sounds good. I will also probably get a container for the exit, so we will have 2 containers after Boarderland this year.
Although I'm not sure I want to be the person in charge of moving the containers, but I'll keep asking Michael about the possibilities of locating it nearby, safe.
Yeah, I think that's good. I actually wanted to talk to Fanny about this because at the last board meeting she kind of took on that responsibility a bit too, and also to be responsible for packing it so that the right things get in there and that the wrong things don't. I think it's going to be very limited on capacity and there's going to be more shit in there. So we need to have some rules like who gets to put stuff in there and what's the process for it. Maybe that people have given heads up before Boarderland so that we don't have like we had this year, like, oh, can we put it here and can we put it here? I don't know, but because Hampus, you were there, so maybe you know more about exactly what happened. But to me, it seemed a bit of a failure that we ended up having stuff that's still left in the old container because we were supposed to be able to fit everything, and I don't really.
Yeah, that was because so many people in the sort of rush when everyone's just leaving, they were just putting stuff in there. There was no one in charge. No one had any authority to say yes or no. So it was just basically people throwing stuff in there and then leaving, having to catch the ferry and so on. And then we were, since we were a group of people, Fanny and I and some others, Jonas and so on. We didn't have a rush. We knew that we would stay behind a bit, so we didn't like. You know, we were chilling a bit more with our own sort of deconstruction of everything. So we were last, and we had booked space in the container for the domes and so on. And then when we were going to put it in, it was full. We couldn't get all of our stuff inside, so then we had to leave it in the other container.
And that was a failure in the handoff there because I actually thought that you and I agreed that you would be responsible for making sure whatever came in, that the container was properly packed.
No, I don't think so.
No, I realized that afterwards, so I think I was unclear, because it was my job, and I left, so I completely take that on me. But we need to just have someone being responsible for it this year, and actually being around there, making sure that people don't put stuff in there unless they can.
Yeah. And someone with, preferably someone that has like a good sort of spatial, visual sort of sense, and some experience in packing. So that would be great. Because it's very suboptimal in how it's packed now. Like it's not really, we're not using the space, and some things are like probably being crushed under other stuff and blah blah blah. There's no system at all.
Okay, but can I just ask, because when I left, we packed all the rabbit stuff into there. The only thing that was not packed in was just standing straight outside because other heavier things needed to go in first. And that was like chairs and stuff. But was any of the rabbit stuff moved to the other Hide container, or is it all in the container that is now in Bostad?
To my knowledge, I was not there all the time, so I can't guarantee you this, but to my knowledge, nothing was actually like taken out of the border container and put into the other ones. It was just us basically like, okay, we can't fit it there, we have to put it somewhere, we'll put it in here.
But what is it in the Hide container?
Can I interrupt? There was actually, Daniel Hushenko was there photoing it and sending photographs. I don't know if not everyone got them. In that case, that's on me. I'll after this meeting, I'll send
No.
photographs from the container to the
No.
Boarderland, to Isadora, so that you can look at the photographs in the container.
I know I got
A couple of weeks ago and checked it out.
Yeah, I got the photos. I think they were sent out to the Borderland list. I'm not sure, but I got photos anyway from Daniel.
But just let's double check so that Isadora gets the photos, because I couldn't see anything that looked like rabbit hole in there. But
No, me neither. I only recognized our dome poles. I think that's the only thing. If I remember correctly, that was basically the only thing we had to put in there.
Yeah. And Fanny is already planning a trip there, as far as I understand it, right?
Yeah, and also Daniel will go back there to get all the stuff for the Cacophonium, and he'll rent a van. I don't know if he rents it on Gotland or in Stockholm, but he could maybe get some of the stuff in the van. I'm not sure. I don't know if I don't remember if it's the long poles or the short poles for the dome, but yeah. Maybe we can crowdfund like that. He rents a trailer too and brings them on the trailer. I don't know how we can do it, but.
Regarding packing responsibility, my idea was to actually talk to the port. Since they're going to be using it, I can talk to Nigel and tell him that, well, if you're going to be using it, can you find someone who is staying after the event and making sure that it's packed up? And then he can say no to that, of course, and then we'll have to find someone else. But I figured to get someone outside of this group being responsible, let's ask someone who hangs out there and that are part of their cleanup. I know they're going to be late. They're staying 5 days. They're coming in on the 16th to start building, and they're going to stay till at least till Monday, probably till Tuesday, to clean up afterwards. So cool. Another point, camps. Did you guys see, or can we leave this? Yeah. So I made a post on in the Facebook group about camps, and I tagged most of you in the comments there. So I made a page on the wiki, kind of explaining what a camp is and how you kind of organize a camp and pull it together. The reason I did this was that I've had so many questions about camps the last week, of people asking, what camp can I join, what camp can I join, and how do I do a camp, how does this work? And I can't have any more people in my camp, and the only other camps that I know of seem to be fairly at capacity too. So this conversation, I felt, needed to be initiated again, and also explaining and helping out, because part of the failures with Leave No Trace last year was because of inadequate camp planning.
Gustav, I can't hear you at all now. This is really fucked up.
Yeah.
It's sounding like Hal in 2001 when he's being shut down.
Do it in a good way so that it doesn't
While
it
we're
like that?
waiting,
I don't know.
No, is
I
it like
put
that?
in a. Go, Hampus.
No, I just want to find out if it's only Gustav or if it's something that happens like more than him. If it's like the server or if it's just his connection.
I'm cool. While we're waiting, I put in a question in the agenda
Right.
about camps and workshop stations. Maybe you can take a look at that.
All right. About city planning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, in previous discussions, I think we've sort of, I don't know, we're going to be like more let anarchy rule, but yeah, I don't know, we can have a discussion about that. That's a whole question about authority again, and who's going to decide that, and blah blah blah. So.
I mean, year by year we run into the need of city planning, but I don't know if we will be more self-organized even this year, or if it need to take care of. What do you think, Christian?
I would be up for going for anarchy on this one and see what happens.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. Like we're getting way too organized with many things. It's like let's anarchy.
Yeah.
I think we talked about
and
this.
the reason why I'm ready.
I think we talked about this a couple of meetings back, and I think we said, let's go for being prepared for conflict resolution rather than to put in organization and structure.
Yeah,
it really could be, if two people can't agree, then we need to help them to agree, not to decide who's right.
And I think the reason why I'm up for anarchy at this point right now today is that I think that the clown police are organizing themselves very well, and I have a feeling that they will be very on top of rules, laws, and stuff. And I also think they have a very gentle and loving approach to the whole thing. So I think it could be a great experiment to just see what happens. And first of all, they will be the first mediators out there. And I know from Peter that they would be up for that task. At least he would. So I'm comfortable with that. We're just letting anarchy rule. Like a basic rule. I don't know if we have to think about the pyramid, for instance.
I'm more worried that the pyramid's going to be empty, actually. I don't think there's going to be much stuff in the pyramid.
No, that's probably right.
Yeah.
But that's okay. People can go there and meditate. It's just a cool space that is empty.
Yeah. I mean, if it's really empty, that's super awesome in itself. I think what you don't want is, I mean, we're just gonna have to accept it if it happens. But I mean, from my perspective, the worst thing if it's like, it's not full, it's not empty, it's just like, 3 little shitty things spread out in each corner. But that doesn't matter. I mean, it's just what happens. What happens. We can't force it into becoming something.
What happens? Happens. I like that.
Okay, so I'm figuring let's so for the camps, kind of how is this going to solve itself? The general, like, a lot of people asking for camps and there not being camps to join, and or how do we support this process of campification?
Whatever happens.
No,
Okay.
I think, no, like for me, it's very problematic because, like, now I get requests like the entire juice bar, for instance, wants to join the rabbit hole. And the only reason they want to do that is because they don't want to deal with the logistic stuff themselves. And, like, there's a lot of pressure from people who want to join camps and don't have a setup and don't know and so on. And everybody's just, like, bringing on one extra friend and so on. So I think we need to communicate something about the fact that it might be okay not to have a camp as well, or organize a new camp, or let's just like create a Facebook group where people can organize themselves, or just like we shouldn't just tell people to join existing camps, but communicate that they can be proactive about it.
So then, Isadora, I would just please, because you have a lot of experience. Did you see the post that I made in the Facebook group? I tagged you to, where I've started an article.
I can do that.
And just help add knowledge. And then when you get more requests to the rabbit hole, you can say, I'm sorry, we're at capacity, but hey, you should organize your own. And then you can point them to this article, and we can all help out in pointing people to that article and saying, like, hey, this is, you know, this is how you do to join the, to start your own camp. It's not that hard. Because that kind of bump, when people are asking for, can I join, say, like, you know, it's not that hard to do yourself, and have a way to direct them. And
yeah, I can do that.
Ask that favor from all of you, because this entire crew has a lot of knowledge. Go in and share. Just add a little thing to the article with your best tips and tricks for how to do a well camp. And yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, don't let them in. Don't let them get away with that. The use bar. I mean, they managed to fix the whole use bar thing last year. They can manage to make a camp, of course.
Well, they were eating with the rabbit hole.
Well, okay, so now then this year they can upgrade and make their own.
Yep.
We have decided to build a neighborhood, not a camp, just because we don't want to make some arrangement for other people. So we keep our team very small and then invite people to camp with us, but it's not included any, I mean, food services or whatever. So it's just a place where people can camp with us.
Yeah, it's really.
It's
I like.
That's the favela way.
Okay, moving on. Let's have. Could we have a little convo on what's been going on with fire and camping? Kind of, I see there's been like two conversations. First, the fire one and those rules, and the fire lanes, and then we talk about camping and the nature preserve things. Because it would be nice to have 10 minutes of talk that through before we get Michael on the line. What do you guys feel?
Of course, excellent. We need to get sort of synced before he joins up.
So what are your thoughts, Hampus?
On nature preservation, I don't know. We will have to wait to see what he says. But I think what I wrote in the thread, you know, I think it sounds a bit like over the top, kind of. Yeah. But I don't know the specifics. Maybe there's some red listed plant there that we don't know about, and so on and so forth. But I just didn't get this impression from him when we met, and you know, I don't know. The type of area doesn't strike me like that. It used to be an industrial quarry. I mean, it's not like it's the nature reserve, blah blah blah. So fire, yeah. I don't know.
Okay, you should.
Yeah, someone else can continue.
Yeah, maybe Christian should.
If I can just. Yeah, the thing is, after it stopped being a quarry, nature did its thing. And then some biologists went by, and they counted all the plants and looked at them and figured out what it was. And then they said, well, this plant needs protection. This plant needs protection. This little butterfly needs protection. Oh, there's one of these. We only have them one other place in Denmark. Oh, definitely needs protection. And that's what actually happened. They went through the whole thing, meter by meter, looking at whatever's going on. That's what biologists do when they do that kind of work. And based on that, they made the map of what is protected and what is not protected. So there's a list of plants and where they are or should be or where they were last time checked, and butterflies and stuff like that. So then, in more detail, you need to know about him that he's he's a nature, like he's in the nature preserve organization of Denmark, so he knows a lot about these things. And at the same time, he has the cap of being in charge of Boarderland, and he wants as much culture in the quarry as possible. Yeah, so he's kind of in between two chairs sometimes. But just he's very, like, his knowledge on the subject is big, and but at the same time I feel that he's actually trying to. If he was not the chairman of the Boarderland, he would be a lot tougher on his environmental and natural considerations. That's how I feel it, right? But let him speak, see what happens. Yeah, that's on that.
Can I just break in there? Sorry. No. Can I just break in that? Like, I would say that the Center of Information and Misinformation we want a list of those plants, so we can educate people about them and their beauty and their fit in the ecosystem and why they're precious and all of that. So we would be interested in that. And also, I think this is not just a matter of leave no trace. This is a matter of, like, practice, respect, and don't destroy. So, I mean, it's at Burning Man is very easy because you won't kill anything because there's nothing there. But in this case, this is just I think it's extended leave no trace, or it's like, maybe we need to, like, add a principle or something around. It's not just about not putting trash and poop on the ground. It's a matter of, like, actually taking care of the living things that are there and not killing things. Like, don't kill could be a principle.
Yes. Now, I think one important point is that this area is not fredat. Så det är inte ett naturskyddsområde enligt lag.
But it doesn't matter because they might have utrotningshotade arter and stuff like that are red listed, even if it's not a Nature 2000 area. And then you still can't pick them or destroy them or do things to them.
Hampus said he didn't understand this when he was talking to Mikael. I kind of had the weird feeling that he had a different opinion than me, but was very non-confrontative. Because I had very straightforward questions saying, like, well, for example, we talked about camping, and I specifically asked about the top hill above the pyramid, which is a nice, huge, amazing grass lawn, it's just basically grass. And then he said, well, yes, you can of course you can camp there, but it is within the protection area, but that shouldn't be a problem. So he was kind of avoiding it, and now it seems more like, what, moving a tent every 3 days? Then he could was well at that point said, no, you can't camp there, because then I could have made the argument much stronger in the board that we shouldn't go to Bostad, because the stuff that is marked, that is now being talked about non-camping, are all the good camping spots on the area. So any spot that is on anything else than gravel. So any soft areas except the two circles on the two lawns that are to the down by the water, close to the misinformation center. Like, pretty much the rest of the areas that are now talked about as camping are only gravel and rock, which is okay, but it's not the area that we kind of went in to lease. It's not the area we went to look at. So I feel kind of cheated, because this is not really it's not the area that he guided me around. But I'm, now we're stuck with this, but I still feel kind of like he wasn't perfectly honest.
Yeah, this is what I meant with slippery slope, and sort of like it's. And also, there's another issue. This is also fairly big, I think. It has to do with trailers and RVs. Like this year, I know at least 2 people that are renting like very serious RVs, John Sjölander and also Rickard Henley, and I'm sure there are others. And according to, I mean, if we're going to do this by the book, by the law, like the 300-meter beach protection area, which covers the whole area except for this tiny little corner that I'm not even sure it's not a slope, and also that place behind the structure where the toilets are, like where our container is right now. Those are the 2 only areas where you, according to Danish law, can have an RV in a trailer. Like, and I mean, this goes against. I mean, we can't expand at this place if this rule is to be enforced. I mean, then that means we're only down to normal tents, if we can even use them in most areas, and that's not something we can build like a city from, which is what I guess we want. That's at least what I want. That's what I think is very special about bigger burns,
Okay.
that you get a city feel.
But I don't think we should discuss the future now, but only this event. And I would suggest a double approach with Michael. One is that I go for the nature preserving angle and say that we would like to do everything we can to inform people about the plants and the nature. And we have the center of information where we can spread and educate people and inform people and maybe even put up small signs, whatever. But then I would also like to Gustav to make his point about, well, this is not exactly what we agreed upon, and you're making it very difficult for us because you're forcing all the people to tent on gravel.
Okay, can I just say one thing? I just talked to Michael on the phone. He will log on in 3 minutes. I don't feel cheated. I knew that there would be a lot of areas we couldn't camp, or we would have to have some kind of restriction. I didn't go further into that myself. I just felt, okay, it's probably going to work. It has worked before with other events bigger than ours, so it's going to work. That was my feeling. That's why I didn't dig into it at the time.
But they on the big grass for you.
So I just want to say I won't be comfortable saying that that Gustav speaks for the board, saying that is not what we agreed upon. My opinion.
No, I'm only speaking for myself and the personal meeting that I had with Michael when he guided me around the area.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only basis, because that's.
Then I just ask you to do that with love, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another point is also that I think we should emphasize just what Isadora said. We will do information, education, communication to far and beyond. Like, I love the idea of asking for the list of the endangered species and actually going way beyond what regulations and rules would do. And the same do with fire safety, and work with that as education and information, and instead of having rules and regulations. Because one thing that I was very clear to Michael about already then is that we do not have the organization to enforce any rules. All we can do is we can try to educate and communicate, but we don't have a structure, we don't have an organization to make sure that rules are followed. So let's promise the world when it comes to talking, and let's make sure that we promise very little when it comes to enforcement, because we will basically not be able to enforce those rules.
Okay, one last thing. I will write in our agenda, I will write a little extra agenda about our meeting with Michael that we can post in the thread, in the chat, so he can see, so we can have some kind of so we'll have some points, like starting with fire, then camping, and then something else or whatever. If you want to join me, please do that.
We can add a point about the toilet as well.
Also, maybe use the existing agenda if you want to like communicate something privately that you don't want to.
Yeah, that's good. Also, this is now broadcasted live on the internet, so it's not private anyway.
No.
Okay, one more thing. I missed your discussion point about the communication, and but just a question, or rather, if we don't have the time to discuss it now, I would just like to ask people to be more operational in the way emails are written, because too much information, too long emails makes it impossible to follow the email threads. And just like, sorry, Hampus, and maybe Christian as well, but it's just needs to be more operational. Like, I have a question.
No, but yeah, sure. I hear what you're saying. I don't agree. I think there's a reason for writing a long email. I don't think I was blabbering.
No, but just in general, it's. I think our communication tend to just end up being long discussions over email, and that's not very efficient, and especially not as responsibility and things or whatever matters that we need to deal with perhaps grows. So,
no, I agree, but I think the main issue why this grew so long to begin with was the reason that people didn't respond to the emails in the first place. Then it created additional problems, and then but that's me.
But that might also happen when you know that there's like long text awaiting you, because then you wait to read the email because you know it's going to be so long that you won't have the time to read it now, and then you postpone it. So, but yeah, that was just.
Okay.
About shit, I think the amount of shit is into the toilet. Nobody does anything with it. It just does what it does. That's my understanding.
Okay,
Cheers. Ah, there's Michael.
Hello.
Hello, Mikael.
hello.
Hello.
So,
I think his microphone might be muted. Yeah, if you're trying to speak, Michael, we can't hear you.
I'll call him on the phone in a sec. I just want to do this. Okay, so now the agenda for this little part of the meeting is up in the thread on the right. I'll call him on the phone just to see what's going on. Hej, det vi kan se et billede af dig, men vi kan ikke høre dig. Men du kan ikke se nogen af os, eller hvad? Ja. Til gengæld kan vi ikke se dig. Men, nej, hvis du er den første deltager, så er det forkert. Man burde bare kunne trykke på det der link der i mailen. Højre i det, der hedder gruppechat. Der har vi lige stykket en lille hurtig dagsorden sammen. Med 4 punkter. Altså, det ene det er camping og naturbeskyttelse, det andet det er ild og situationen mellem Boarderland og brandafdelingen, brandfolkene, ikke? Den tredje det er naboer, og den fjerde det er noget med toiletter. Så den kan du lige se over til højre.
jeg
Så er
slukker
du.
lige til. Ja, hej.
Ciao.
Woo!
Så lykkes det. Godt. Ja, hej.
Hej Mikkel.
Okay.
Hej.
Det var bedre. Yes.
So, welcome to our little meeting. We've been here for an hour and a half already, but we have a special little agenda here with things that we'd like to talk to you about.
Yes.
I think Christian has been the one mostly in communication with him, so I'd like to hand over this part to him. Would you
Yes.
mind, Christian?
That's totally cool, Gustav. I'm taking over. Anyway, yeah. So, Michael, just want to meetings and chats and emails we've had. That's great. I feel that we are really talking about the issues.
You're sounding.
Come along. You figure out.
Yeah, Christian, we're breaking up again. So maybe.
Okay. Wait a second.
The agenda is also posted to the right in the chat.
Yeah.
Camping
So-
areas.
Who is it to left in my chat? Okay. I think. Let's
Can you
see.
see the chat?
So just to
It's because mine.
You press the little blue icon in the top left corner.
Yeah.
The blue
Yes.
tab, so the chat field comes up on the right.
Yeah, I'll try to put it on. Yes. Yes. Here. The chat. Yes. Write a question mark for. Yes. Okay. Yes. But it's just.
So basically, the first point is camping areas and nature protecting. Can you tell us a little bit more about the thoughts you have around how we can camp and what we should think about?
Yeah. First of all, you have seen the map I sent to you in the contract. And there you can see those areas who is calling paragraph 3 in Denmark. It's called paragraph 3 areas because it's paragraph 3 in the Danish nature protection law. There's a lot of paragraphs, of course, but one of them is paragraph 3, and it's saying that areas who has certain animals or plants or who need to be especially protected are paragraph 3 areas. And it's just being understood in the following way that if you find one or more plants who are paragraph 3, then you say this area should be in the same has the same environment for the future. Let me put an example. If you have a culture area, for example, with a field, open field, and there's certain animals there, and you say this field is important, this animal here, then you need to have the fields in that level for the future. Even this is not the natural way. Let's say, for example, if you take this area and say we don't touch anymore, no human interruption, and in Denmark you normally get to be a forest, but it's not allowed. You need to have it in that state. And that's a problem, not a problem, but it's what it is in Boarderland. There's some areas who is protected and need to be taken care of and having that staging, so to say, for the future. And that's the reason why I'm saying you can camp there, but you need to take care of, you don't kill the plant, for example, or the animals or something. Not necessarily a plant, it can also be a butterfly or something different, but it normally is a plant or group of plants. I don't know what plant it is because there have been some botanical, biological going around and find out who is certain plants who is very interesting. So you can don't not use a list. Of course, there's certain plants in Boarderland, but you cannot use a list because it wouldn't sell you anything, even if you maybe need to be an expert to understand what is special about this plant, for example. Yeah, Do you understand?
So could I would ask Isadora? She had some thoughts about that. Isadora, she's working with Greenpeace and been very engaged in the environmental movement, and also runs the information center at the Borderland. And she had some thoughts about that. Could you share, Isadora?
Yes, but I think what Michael just said was that it's not possible to have a list over them, because what we were thinking was that have a very proactive approach about the area and the ecosystems there and the various species that are there, so that if we would maybe we can get in touch with the experts who've been doing the investigation in the area to sort of or even have I don't know what you call it in English, but in Swedish we call it nyckel, where you when you go around and look at all the various species, even have that there, or just like put up small signs, or like so that we actually try to educate the community about the area and why those things are precious.
First, yeah.
Well, like maybe we could make strike two flies in one hit here. If there's, for example, I don't know, maybe you've already done like a big audit or a categorizing. If you've been cataloging all the plants in the area and so on, but if you haven't, maybe we can do like a cooperation where we partly, participate and fund some sort of a audit, and then while we're doing that, in that process, we can also place out maybe flags or something like that can mark certain plants or areas, and then you will have a better information, and we will also have a better information on where to tell people not to camp and be extra careful. Maybe we can even do it some sort of we could also be sort of an art project where we place maybe solar panel lights and whatever, something like that.
So I think we're getting ahead of ourselves, promising things that we are not sure that we can do yet. So
just a suggestion. I'm just
please don't go down that route.
Let me say something. First, for example, there's been from the Danish Natural Environment Ministry has been out and go around in Denmark, and they are making an investigation in a certain area, and then they draw a map and say this area is protected. Or there could be the municipality who is coming and say we want an expert to come. We think there may be some interesting here, for example. And the problem is in Denmark we have a website called arealinfo.dk, and the map you have, the paragraph 3 areas is taken from that site, and you can go in and you should go in and make, I want to have info about exactly this spot, what is there, who is interesting, but it doesn't not always work properly. I have been in big trouble to find out what is the special plan for this location, for example. So I cannot promise you can find out how it is. I don't know the name for the person who has been out, the expert who has been out and find out this is paragraph 3. So the event is quite complex. So my advice to you is to go use a proper sentence, so to say. If you are camping, for example, at the tent in some days, you don't think it will be a problem because plants, for example, will recover after because it gets light again and so on, no problem. But what I'm afraid of is that, for example, if you have make camping for, let's say, 1 week or 8 days or something like that, maybe the plants is dead or in a very bad shape. You understand that? So what I was saying to Christian was, you can be in the paragraph 3 areas also, but you need to use your common sense. You should understand that. I know that's the problem to tell people about having common sense, but that's the best advice.
And just to follow up on that, so just to be clear, you're saying some days, in your opinion, would be good. 7-8 days would be too much for some plants, and that would be killing. That would be killing plants, and we don't want to do that. So what you and me talked about was, okay, let's say 3 or 4 days or something. If you move your tent once during the week, maybe that's common sense. So
I think that's
so my suggestion would be that if you know you camp in an area that is protected, that you know you have to move your tent before you put your tent up. then you will have to consider that. Yeah.
I think we're again into the land of promising things that we don't know if we're going to keep. I think that the best way we could do is really put an effort into education and information so that people understand that this is a precious area and understand that I have to take responsibility. I think that would carry a lot more weight than to have a rule about having to move your tent after 3 days. Because I personally would just disregard that as a, if someone comes and tells me like a weird rule that I don't understand, then I'm not going to follow the rule because it's just a weird, arbitrary rule. It's much better to really have education.
You need both. You need both. You're talking about educating, and educating.
I'm just saying,
educating
like that, they're not going to be followed.
It's going to be completely impossible to move 500 people after 3 days and have them recamp again. That will cause chaos, and it will probably cause more destruction than. So, I mean, one thing is to be very clear about the areas that are clear out of it's just gravel or something. But on the other hand, those areas are probably not the best ones for camping either. So people will want to be in spots where it's a little bit soft on the ground. But then what we can do is that we can put an effort into, if we have the I mean, I'm not an expert in the Danish Naturstyrelsen or the bodies governing this, but if we can try to have a look at certain species, then I can understand that there might be precious small grass that you don't really recognize by the eye.
That's right.
Explain and make an effort, a local biologist or something, and ask them what is the probability of in the occurring fauna. What is it that we should keep an eye out for? What is it that we should educate people about? And then ask people before you put up your tent, really go over the ground and make sure that it looks like it's more or less only grass. And I think it's, or we will have to direct them towards gravel, because it's completely unrealistic to have people move after 3 days. It's just not gonna happen.
Like last year, the last 2 years we've been at Hide, also a quarry on Gotland, similar ground, similar geology, everything similar nature, probably similar plants too, because similar climate, and we also have a lot of the lime in the ground, making the pH very high and so on. So it's like there is an actual nature reserve, very restricted area just outside, adjacent to where we were camping, and we haven't had any problems in the last 2 years, and this is the same community and the same people. That's just one thing for background. And also in these 2 years where people have been camping for a week in the same spot, I honestly don't recall seeing any sort of dead spots or anything under tents. Like they have managed to, there's no trace visible. Definitely not when we return, like between 2013 and 2014. I don't recall seeing anything, and we haven't heard any reports either. So,
can I say something?
Can I hear from Michael now, because I hear a lot of us talking, and I
would like to say one thing before that. What if with the knowledge I had before going into this discussion, if I put up a tent and moved it again, I would see, well, the grass is flat or maybe a little yellow, it will recover. But if we're talking about other plants or little animals, I have no way of telling. For me, because he's a nature protecting guy, and if Michael says in his opinion 7 days or 8 days will probably kill some of the plants that are not to be killed.
Can for me, hear from Michael what he says instead of what you say that he says.
Yeah, but I'm saying what I'm saying on base of somebody who knows, and he's actually also our landlord. And I, of course, moving 500. No, can we let me finish, Gustav, please? moving 500 people, of course, that's not going to happen. But if you educate people in camp, but you don't want to kill anything, if you want to be sure not to kill anything, you have to move your tent once during the thing. Then they know what they're getting into when they camp, and then I think we've done our bit, and then we see what happens. If we just say, hey, there are plants that will get killed, don't kill them, then everybody will have tents for 8 days in the vulnerable areas, and I think that's I don't think that's great.
So Michael, what are your thoughts?
As I was saying before, if you can educate people, and understand your second thoughts about directing people, if you can educate people to take care of the place and use their common sense. Of course, if you can see this, for the first, totally agree with the places where you want to tent is probably not the places where the most important plants are. So if it's just ordinary grass, it is ordinary grass. I can imagine. Of course, there's thousands of species of grass, but that's another discussion. What I was saying is, when you see the map of paragraph 3 areas, you will see that it's not so that exactly all the places who is in the map as paragraph 3 is full of really certain plants. It's here and there. So again, use your common sense and do have the best intentions. Then I think we must see how it works. Something like that. Is it making sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think we should move on because we don't have that much time. We need to talk about the other things too. Is there anything closing? Isadora, would you like?
Wait a minute, Gustav.
One at a time.
I want to say a thing.
Yeah.
I don't.
Could I hear from Isadora?
I don't think that we are hearing. I don't think that we are hearing the same thing as Michael is saying. Right.
So can I
having
be very, very blunt and clear about this? Michael, are you of the opinion that we should inform people that they should move their tents after 3 days? Is that we should have that rule or guideline to give out to people? Is that your opinion?
No, it is not, because I understand totally. It's not possible to order 500 people to move the tents after 3 days. What I'm saying is that if they're feeling unsafe about the place they're staying with a certain tent, then you can recommend them maybe to move it if they're not sure that the grass, for example, or the flowers beneath the tent will survive. So educate people and make them take responsibility, something like that. Then I think it will function.
Thank you.
So
great, thank you. And also we're anyways gonna, and that will come into the next agenda point as well about fire and safety and such things. We're anyways gonna have the clown police that helps to guide and direct people. I mean, there's several different stations. First, they will meet the port when they approach, get lots of different information. Then they will meet the clown police who will help them to guide them to where to camp. Or, I mean, we have several instances of being able to say, okay, start with these areas, and then if some people are still in the paragraph 3 areas, then we will educate them as well and be very clear and give clear advice.
Yes, good. May I say one thing? As Christian also has said that there was some what's called political issues. At the moment, there's a lot of discussion here at Stevens about a visitor center, and there's a lot of I have another role as head of the Danish Nature Protection Organization at Stevens, and I want to sort of say take an entire cliffs and make it a protected area, not protected for building houses and all of that stuff. That's another discussion. But what I'm saying is, some people, they can say, I have made an error, they will use it in that political discussion. And that's the reason why I say it's important you know that you are there and are taking care and in the best opinion doing the right thing. If you do that, I don't think, I haven't got a problem with that. So if you is responsible and you educate people to be, or tell them how you want to do it, to be responsible, then I think it's as best as it can be. Yes, yeah.
Great, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate your faith in us.
Good. I hope you can take that. Yeah.
So the next point here being the fire and the situation between Bostal and the fire department. What's your opinion of the conversations you've had so far with them?
Is in my opinion about the fire department.
Yeah, and the rules. I don't know how much you've been in communication with them.
For the moment, it's a little bit stupid, but there's new persons in the fire department, and until now, people have just been doing as used to do, but it was not legal. The problem especially is that the pyramid is not allowed to have more than 150 persons inside. If there's more than that, you need to have the building, so to say, by law made legal to have more than 150 persons. But the person you are talking with, Morten from Stevns Kommune, the culture man, has made a deal and is finishing in a very few days. So it's now legal to have more than 150 persons in the pyramid under circumstances that we have some exit signs and a light when something goes wrong and all this stuff, security matters, and we will find out how we will organize that. But I don't think you get problem. But you would say your arrangement has, so to say, initiated something which should been done for several years ago. So I don't think we get a problem. We get a permit to have maybe 10 arrangements a year, and yours is one of them. And then also is as it is. I don't see the problem. And I will find the right equipment. Maybe you need to put up some light or something like that to have, so to say, follow the rules. But that's it. And then there's fire outside. I recommend that you have fireplaces and made very small fireplaces. There's some rules in Denmark. If the fireplace is smaller than 80 centimeters in diameter, it's illegal to have this. If it's bigger, you should have a permit and so on and so on. There's some certain rules about that, but I don't think that will be a big problem as long as people are following that rules. And I think this should be the same. I think this is the same rules that you have in Sweden and so on. I'm quite sure. What do you say about that?
That sounds great to me. There's been some talk about the restrictions of having cooking close to sleeping quarters that's required for certain camping areas. I don't know if you've been involved with that situation, but I think that we're kind of on the same line that we were on the last question with camping areas, saying, well, it is common sense. I mean, yes, there are some rules and regulations, but also use common sense, and as long as you're not setting up a fire inside your tent while there are people talking to you, I mean, that's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
But also, if you have a proper, if someone's bringing a propane barbecue, of course they can have that next to, in their camp. I think.
Gustav, I just want to say we're not on the same page with this as we was with the other thing, but it has nothing to do with Michael. It has to do with the fire chief. So let's take it on another moment.
Okay, let's bring that up later. And I think as it looks now, we're not actually going to use the pyramid that much. We're probably going to have an initial gathering on Tuesday night, but it seems that there are so many other places and spaces that are popping up that I don't think we're pretty much ever going to be all 500 people in there or even 200 people in there.
Okay.
So neighbors have been a topic of ours, especially I think I told
Can
you
I
about.
comment?
Yeah, Isidore?
Yeah, sorry. So also just on cooking, in regards to what Christian said, that we are also looking at having specific designated areas, like where all the cooking takes place, so that people can, so that we point people to a specific. So we're trying to be proactive on that one as well. So yes, common sense, if there's absolutely no risk whatsoever, I mean there's always risk, but fine, but we're also actively telling people to don't cook in the tent area. This is a good cooking area. I just wanted to add that.
So yeah, thank you. If there's nothing else on this, I'd like to talk about neighbors. I think I brought that up with you, Michael, when we met in Bostal, that one of the reasons we're moving off was that we were in conflict, especially with one neighbor. And this is, despite all the other neighbors loving us and actually the local government wanting us to stay, this one neighbor was messy enough so that our landlord didn't want to take the fight. Because the fact is that we are kind of a noisy crowd, and we try to, of course, be sensible. Of course, we're all living there, so we're all taking each other in regard, because we all need food. So, but there is a certain chance, a certain likeliness, I would say, that we will get complaints. How do we handle these complaints? How do we work with you and with them to kind of resolve and maintain these relationships in the best way?
Yeah. First of all, you say the area is designated to be for cultural arrangements and so on. Some of the persons who is the neighbor, especially an older woman, who is against all things in Boarderland. And if she has campaigns and she will come with them, I'm sure she should come with them to Boarderland society and not to you. And then we will take it from there, so to say. Again, there's another neighbor, the person with all the cows and so on. There's a farmer beside that, and he had seen in a newspaper or something like that the map where the camps will be and so on. And he was a little bit sad about there was a big camping place at the top, close to the Boarderland. And I was saying to him, "Oh, this should not be a problem because Christian had told me that the people there should be the people who want to be more quiet and so on. So I don't think there's a problem." He was just saying to me that he was in second thought about it. He's not allowed to say I don't want it, but he was just saying to me what to think about that, and say, "Oh, I will talk about it. I don't see the problem." So for the moment, is there any complaints against the arrangement in the prairie? It's should be directed to the Boarderland Society, who will explain them. The persons who will have the problem, that's how it is, and so on. Of course, if you have acted like crazy in some way, I don't know, we will of course say it's more than was. It's a bigger noise than expected, so to say. But I don't think it is a festival, for God's sake, and there will be some noise and so on. But again, as long as you, for example, say that people who are staying close to the road, as a Boarderland road, they are people who want a little bit more peace than the people who are more in a good mood. How to put it?
I'd first like to add that we have not released any map that has any camping areas or anything indicated on it. There has been a very pretty drawing made of it, but it only marks parking lots. It doesn't mark anything else, camping or anything else.
We have on the wiki.
I'm not really, yeah, but it doesn't say anything about camping. It does?
Yeah.
I think it's a preliminary map I made. Just to follow up on that, when I heard Michael told me about that this guy had seen something maybe in a newspaper, I tried to find the article and also tried to call the local newspaper and didn't get through. I couldn't find any article after a lot of search, so I think he just somehow got to the wiki. But I'll further check up on that and get in touch with the newspaper to find out if there really was an article, and then I'll tell them not to write anything else. But I think he just saw it on the wiki.
Christian, I'm quite sure that he must have seen it. For example, if they're sitting and Google about this arrangement, Boarderland, for example, and so on, and he got to the wiki, he has seen this this map. Maybe that's the explanation. So, but anyway, he has seen the map where the tenting areas are, and yeah. And I explained to him that I don't think it would be a problem, but it's just as you know, there's people who has second thoughts. So
yeah, that's good to be aware of. I also very much appreciate that you're saying that we can refer them to you, because that's exactly the opposite of what the last landowner said. And that was kind of the problem. He didn't want them to talk to him. And since they insisted on doing that, it became a problem. Other thoughts or reflections in the group?
it doesn't seem so.
No? Finally, the last one was toilets. I think that's Matthias' point here.
Yeah, minor detail in the end. I know that you have, I don't know the word, but in a kind of outdoor toilet, a permanent one at the area. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
What kind of...
Yeah. In Danish, it's called a locum.
A locum, okay. Utedass.
Turkish delight. It's sorry. In Danish, it's called a locum, and what it means is that it's a little house, with a door, normally with a little heart on, cut in the wood, and then there's the seat, and then under the seat there's a big hole in the ground, and when this hole is filled up, then you maybe take it. Normally, when you have a locum, it's the garbage is so to say is natural. It's not a normal problem. It's decomposing, so to say.
All right.
But the problem is if you have a locum or an outdoor toilet or what you call it, where there's a lot of, so to say, production. Then you need to take it away, and they will have a problem, because in Denmark normally when we have an outdoor toilet for festival and so on, we have a chemical locum, chemical toilet. You put stuff in a tank, and then you take the toilet away and empty it and so on. You don't have a system with, for example, a box you can remove and so on. Not in Denmark. Not as far as I know.
All right. Okay. So
do research on that.
Yeah, I mean, so in Sweden we have a system of a kind of black plastic barrels that there is a local supplier that take care of, but you don't have that system in Denmark.
No, not as far as I know. This normally when we have a festival, we rent some toilets, maybe 2 or 10 or 20, depends, and they are clean when you get them and you use them. It's made of plastic, and they have this blue chemical stuff in the tank, and then it's
port bodies.
the proper place, so to say.
Yeah.
So
all
I
right.
think we could do some more research on this, but I don't think we have to do this in this meeting.
I can maybe. I have phone number, Michael. I can probably. May I call you tomorrow?
Of course, you're welcome. At what time will you call me?
Good.
What time do you think?
Yeah, I can. Maybe I can call you at lunchtime.
It's fine. Remember to call me on my my local phone, not my mobile phone, because it's very difficult sometimes to have a proper connection. Do you have a local
so
phone?
what's your?
It's Denmark, of course, 45, and then there's 56, 51, 0, 601.
601. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I call you tomorrow at lunchtime. Great.
Now, good. Yes, I think I'll go down. I have my dinner prepared.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking time.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Good. And anyway, contact me if there's any question.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
I will.
Ciao.
Okay. Hey.
So thank you. That was a great talk. And that kind of concludes the meeting.